Hello friends! Yesterday I taped the whole thing, like 28 minutes of work, and most of the time the paper was over here. So I am definitely going to be trying to get this on the screen, so I have to stay in between the two pieces of tape. The reason I'm having trouble with this is if I set my camera up with the camera on photo, it gives me one size screen. And if I set it up, when I change it to video, it gives me a totally different, much reduced screen. And I don't know how to make that, change on this phone. So I'm either going to have to try doing this way, and then I might go back and I may end up getting another camera. I don't know. I'm really frustrated with this because it takes me so long to get things taped anyway, and then I have to throw it all out. So I'm making signatures for my journal that somehow did not get taped yesterday, but I did get this cover. And I've got a bunch of paper I need to use up some of this paper. So I'm going to be making paper to go into this journal. And I'm using a technique that I saw years ago on YouTube. And I think it was Carrie who did it. And I'm not sure what his channel is. I will try to put a link to his channel in the description. What I'm using is just Apple Barrel multi-surface Walmart paint, and I'm watering it down. These are just going to be background. This is just going to be the background, so it really doesn't have to be the best quality paint in the world. Just doesn't make that much difference. I'm using these tea-dyed insurance papers. As you can see, they're writing on both sides, and that's okay because it'll add some extra texture. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip this in down here, and then I might take this and just spray it a little bit and get it to run. Then I'm going to just pull this around a little bit with my putty knife. You can use a credit card, whatever you want. Just move the paint around a little bit so that it's not all in one spot. And then we're going to set that down to dry. You can actually, let me do that. Let me get, this is metallic paint. Let me just get the blue, bright blue paint, and I'm going to do that. This doesn't need a deep water because it's pretty loose anyway. Let me do this, and I'll just try to get a little bit of different color in here. If it gets on the back of your paper, it's okay, because that is all going to, I'm working on here. We're going to color that too, so it just adds to the texture. And so I've got a little bit on the back. I don't want to cover my whole back because I'm going to have to dry it, and it'll stick to whatever it's drying on. So that's one page. And I'm going to do another page. And you can see it just kind of sticks in there. Now, I don't want it to be totally blotchy like that. The other thing you can do is take a brayer and just brayer over it. And that kind of melds it all together. I don't want big blobs of paint, so we're going to move that around. Alright, so put that down here to dry. And I'm going to do one more page. I just wanted to give you an idea of how I got the effects that I do. I think when Carrie did it, he was using index cards and distress ink from a pad. And these pages are just too big to do that with. I would use a whole pad just to get one little thing. Alright, so now you can see you've got, this kind of looks like a watercolor effect, and that's okay. And it's actually more what I was looking for. Okay, so we're just going to leave that just like that and let that dry. I've got another segment of this coming up right after this, where we go in and we do some more stuff to this. Oh, one thing I didn't want to do. I clean all this up with the baby wipe. I'm doing this on freezer paper so it doesn't soak in. Just going to take a little bit of this gesso and I'm going to spray that with water and mix it all up to make a loose thing. Then I'm going to grab my brush. I'm just going to spritz this on here to give it some snow. If you get it wetter, you can. Yesterday, I took this and I made a bunch of papers that look much like this to go in the journal. And when I was finished, after they dried, I looked at them and I wasn't really happy. So I played around with putting some gesso on them to frost them. And now you can see this side has been frosted, this side has not. You can let me know which one you like better. Again, this side has been frosted, this side has not. This side has been frosted, this side has a little bit, but not very much. This side was frosted a lot, this side not at all. And then we're back to the ones that haven't been frosted at all. These are the ones that I did, and I did do the frosting on them. Or maybe I didn't do any frosting on them. Yeah, these are, I can go over there. Alright, so this one's been frosted. This one's been frosted. You can see it gives a whole new dimension. This one was lightly frosted, but I think I'm going to go in with some more. And then this one was frosted. And also I put some on the back. So I'm going to go and show you a couple of these where we go in and actually do the frosting on them. This is a really simple technique if you have a brayer. And this is a brayer. And you can also do it with a dry brush. I'm just looking for a big brush. This one will work. You can do it with a dry brush. I have several of these, so we'll use a couple different ones. You can use bigger ones too. The key is just not to get very much paint on them. So this is my gesso, and it's just a big tub of Jerry's gesso because that happens to be where I was at the time. And I'm going to put a dab of it down here. This is my palette. It's actually freezer paper on a plastic board. And I'm going to rub this out. And I'm going to get it all over my palette, but I don't want it to be on here very thick. So then when I take my paper, let's put this aside down here. Got stacks of paper everywhere. I'm just going to roll this up and down. You can see how easy that goes on. If you don't have a brayer and you want to do it with a brush, take a fairly stiff brush, and then you're just going to get it, you want it to be very dry. So not a whole lot of paint, and then you just go like this on your paper. It gives a little bit different effect, but it's pretty much the same. If you tea dye your paper, it's going to be kind of crinkly. There's really no technique to this. You just kind of scrub it on because the paint is almost dry. My gesso dries really quick. It is easier to get it in specific spots if you're using... So I had a hole in this paper from ironing it yesterday, and I did a repair. You can see here, I just Mod Podged some paper on, and then this is a napkin that was also Mod Podged on to repair a tear. So if you tear your paper, it's no big deal. You just glue something on it and move on. So that's one. This one has not been done at all. So again, I'm just going to go in. I'm going to do this on this one. Oops. And you don't have to push down really hard with your brayer. You're going to get differences. It's going to be thicker some places, thinner others. You do the same thing over here with the dry brush. Alright, so that's that one. It's almost dry by the time I get it done. Because the gesso dries in my house really fast. And because it's such a thin layer. So if you go really lightly, it'll pick up the crinkles in the paper. But the biggest thing is it pushes the color back a little bit if it's too dark. If it's got, you know, splotchy things or color you don't really like in it, it just gives it a whole new dimension. Another one. The brayer goes much faster, so I'm just going to use the brayer, but you see what I mean about the brush. I do like to get, like where we have big words like that, I do like to get them kind of broken up. Keep in mind, this was all insurance paperwork, so it all has text on it. It was basically just stuff I was going to throw away. I'm going to get a little bit more white. That got a little heavy. So if you do your brayer too wet, it is going to give you, or get too much paint on it, it is going to give you a big blob like that, and that's okay. Here's another layer. So I go in different directions. I don't try not to go in the same direction all the time. A little bit on this important right here. I don't really want you to be able to read the text. I just like that you can see some of it through the paper. So I'm just going to go in here. I splattered this a little bit more afterwards, put a little bit of gold, some metallic blue in it. Because it just didn't seem to be enough. Alright, I just want to get all of these done. I think we're on the pieces that the more you roll it around on your palette over here, the more spread out your paint will be and the less likely you are to get big blobs like that in the middle. But it's okay if you do. Just keep on going. This is not a finished artwork. This is just background. You may cover all of this up at some point, and you may cover none of it up. So we're just going to go in like this. Just going to run that over. I really don't like the color of this at all, so I'm probably going to go a little bit heavier on it. The gray just didn't come out the way I wanted it to. That's okay. It'll all work out in the end. And here's some more. Just gonna go with this again. So I think this looks really wintry. Well, that's distressing. And
did you hand Joe's phone?
I think my paint dried. Alright, so that one's okay. This one, I'll show you what I did on the back of this. I'm just going to get this rolled around a little bit. Alright, so we're just going to put on a layer of frosting, like frosting a cake. Now this works better because the pages have been tea dried, they've been wet, they're a little bit crinkly. I had some issues with this, and you can't really tell, but it had a hole in it somewhere. I don't remember where it was, but I repaired it, and then I didn't like that, so I took this napkin and put that on the back, and now I'm just going to frost that a little bit. I don't want this to be really heavy on the back, but I want just to give it a little bit of pushing that design back into the background a little bit more so it's not so prevalent. And the napkin also has wrinkles, you can see, that the brayer picks up. Alright, so there's that one. Now, the second thing I did was I made these papers, and these were all done with the brayer, and I like them actually better than I like the other ones. But these are just blue, and as you can see, they're different colors. They've got the frosted appearance on them. They've got the blue brayered on them. You can see the text through it. And I'm not sure what this is, but we're going to make some papers like this. Okay. I am going to do some colors now instead of just doing the white, and that's how I did the frosted, the last ones that I really liked. So I'm just going to grab some blue here. You can do this with any color you choose. I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to brayer this on, and again, you can do this with a brush. It just takes a little bit more time. A brayer is a great investment. It's super easy. I clean it up with a baby wipe when I'm done. So we've got that blue. Now I'm going to take a little bit of white. I'm going to move this over just a touch. Let me get some white. I'll put it up here. And I'm just going to take that gesso, roll that out a little bit. And I'm just going to go over this once with the gesso. Like so. So now we're all frosted. That one can go over here. Again, let me take a different color blue. This is bright blue. It's okay if they mix a little bit. This is a really wet one, so it goes on a little bit thicker. You have to just push lightly on the braille if you don't want it to have full coverage. In with the white. I'm just going to go lightly over here with this. The gesso also gives it a really nice texture to paint on. I don't know why I was doing this one. Remember that you're not going to be able to see both sides, so if the sides are different, it's okay. They don't all have to be the same. Alright, let's get this. This is probably going to be lighter because all the colors are mixing together, and that's okay too. It just means they will harmonize a little bit more. Try to get a little bit down on this edge here. All right. So now I've got this metallic. I'm going to do one in metallic just to see how it works. I don't think I've done this with the brayer. The gesso will keep it from being quite so metallic-y, but it does give it a little bit of a shimmer. Metallic takes a little bit longer to dry too. See if I can get some more on here. So you don't get full coverage when you use the brayer. If you get the paint dry enough, you just get kind of a splotchy, even on regular paper. It's not as dry as it normally is. There. But you can see how quick this goes. And it's super quick to do these papers, and you can do them in any color that you want to do them. But since my journal theme is going to be blue and white, I kind of wanted to do them this way. Now on this page, I'm just going to do some white frosting because I don't really want, they don't all have to have color. But it does brighten up the, where did my knife go? Well, poo. Oh, there it is. I didn't want them all to be super dark or super light. So I'm just going to go over these and brighten this up a little bit so that it's not so brown. It'll help it go with the rest of them. important things to know about your drug coverage. All right, I'm going back to the turquoise or Atlantis. And this is probably going to be too wet, but that's okay. We'll just go in and get her done. We'll go this way, then we'll go this way. Then we'll come in with some white. See how nicely that covers up all that text, and it makes the text look interesting. Like you kind of wonder what it's talking about instead of being in your face. This is an insurance paper. I didn't want to cover up that big bold text up there. All right. And then this leaves a little color I had. I did frost this, but I like it better when there's so much text with a little bit more color on it. That one can go in here. And I don't know. I wonder, do I want to do something a little different? I know. Let's try some gold. Because gold goes with everything. So I'm just going to get this on here a little bit. And I'm just going to come in with some gold, and you can't ever go wrong with a touch of gold. You just can't. Alright, there's that one. And then I'm going to do this one with gold too, I think. I'm going to do a lot of gold this time. I cannot seem to make art without getting my hands covered in paint. It just, no matter how hard I try, it's always the way. Alright, so now I'm just going to roll this on. I did have to put down another background because this is corrugated plastic, and it absolutely covers, makes lines in my work that I didn't really like. Oh, I like this. How can you go wrong with frosty gold? Alright, I'm going to go in with a little bit of white just to add a little bit of frosting to that. I wish I had silver, because the silver and white would be really pretty, but I don't. So I'm just going to get a little bit more. I'm just going to run this over here one more time. And that is all of my paper. So I think I have enough to do all of my pages. And so the next video will be back to making the journal.